and welcome to another episode of Anne's Theory, a theory where everything we come in contact with will affect us and will affect us individually. And today I'm going to show you how to do a post test to find out what intolerances you have. As I pointed out in a previous video, the post test is the most accurate and the fastest way of finding out what intolerances you have. If you haven't seen the video, please do watch it. It's a basis of this video basically. But in short, what happens is your heart rate will increase when you eat something you are intolerant towards. To use your pulse rate as an indicator whether you have an intolerance or not, you need to do a few trial tests because before you can start doing the normal tests. Then you need to start measuring your pulse morning, in the evening, lunchtime to find your average pulse rate. A pulse rate is the amount of times your heart will beat within 1 minute, 60 seconds. Once you know your average pulse rate, you can then start measuring your pulse before and after consuming something that you think you might be intolerant towards. The difference in between the before and after pulse rate indicates whether you have a reaction towards it or not. When you have a small change, that's natural because your body does absorb food and that will create heat and that will make your heart go faster anyway. But if the difference is great, abnormal to your normal, then this is something to be worried about. To measure your pulse, you have two ways of doing it, manually and mechanically. The manual one is the most typical one, where you find your pulse on you. Usually it's on your wrist, between a big bone and a small bone on your wrist, and when you put your thumb or a finger there, you should feel your heart beating. And the idea behind the pulse test is you need to count how many times your heart will beat within 1 minute. The mechanical way is a far simpler way. We have pulse oximeters that you put on your finger and it will do the job for you. The problem with that method is the reading may not be accurate and you will have to do the test several times over to get the average reading. A normal person has a heart rate between 60-75 heartbeats a minute. When their reading before and after is greater than say 20, then there are two reasons that it's either you haven't measured them correctly or there's an intolerance there. Now, to measure your pulse with the pulse oximeter, you turn it on and you put it on your finger, and it should start beeping until it will give you a measure, which is on the bottom here, to indicate how fast your heart is beating. You do that before you eat something, before you come in contact with something that you think you might be intolerant towards, or if you have a suspicion that might be the problem why you have health issues, anything within a household. Then you will have your food. And then you measure it again. Now, although this is great, the better way to do it is manually. Now, to do this, you need to first find your pulse. It's between the big bone and a small bone here on your wrist. And you find it, you feel it pulsating. Then you should have your timer ready, whether you use normal phone or normal time, it doesn't really matter, as long as you can count the pulse for 1 minute. So what you do is you get the timer running and find your pulse, right? You're ready to count, and then when it hits to 10, you start counting. 1, 2, 3. "70, 71, 72, 73. And that's when you stop counting, when the timer hits 1 minute and 10 seconds, because you started counting at 10 seconds past the time. Then once you've done that, you should put it down on your diary. So to do that, you put today's date, which is 27th of October and 2016. The time I'm doing this is about 1 o'clock. And I'm gonna do this test right before I eat my lunch. So the result was 68. Now the lunch is eaten, it was really good. I'm gonna measure my pulse again, once again. So to do that, I'll start over again. I press the start button, wait until 10 seconds and then start counting. So 78, 79, 80, 81. So that's 81 seconds. And I'm gonna put it down to the after box, 81. And then all I need to figure out the difference in between them two. So the difference is 12 points, and I'm going to put it down there. I also need to put down what I ate for my lunch, or what I suspect the difference was. 12 is not major difference, but still something to look at. So for example, I had a ham sandwich, and it was with butter, so I would write it down with butter, because I suspect butter is the issue at the moment, because I know the bread is good and ham is good. So probably the difference was because there was a little bit of butter in the sandwich. Now once you've done a day or a week or whatever you choose to do, and then you should go and get the total and then calculate the average. And the average you calculate by adding all of the values together in one column and dividing by the number of columns you have put the figures in. Same with the after rating, post rating, the same with the differences. And then you will see the average of per day, per week, per month, whatever you have put down here. And the other thing to remember is whether you're doing a postmeter or when you're doing it manually, make sure you do either because the values can differ greatly. So whatever you prefer, stick to it. Now every time you measure your pulse, you should always write it down within a little diary. And what you do is you write down what you have eaten, what time, what date, and what the result was before and after. And over the period of time you should get an idea what's affecting you and what isn't affecting you. Now, a thing to remember when you're measuring your pulse is the fact that it may not be obvious what is causing the intolerance. Say after eating a slice of bread, you getting a high pulse measure. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are gluten intolerant. It can happen, but it could be simply something stupid like you just can't tolerate the soy flour in it, or you can't tolerate vegetable oils. The first time when I tried out the pulse method was the time I was in a cafe. I ordered myself a pot of tea, a fruit salad which was mainly melon, and a packet of crisps. Before eating the food I had normal low pulse rates, and after I ate the lot my pulse rate was suddenly almost 100, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought, what on earth is going on? And I thought, nobody's allergic to fruit, because fruit has vitamin C and that will naturally act as a natural antihistamine. I wasn't affected by a tea or a coffee, so I thought it can't possibly be that I am intolerant towards crisps. So I thought, alright, let's see what's on a package. And on a package was nicely and simple potato and sunflower oil. So I thought, it can't possibly be that I am intolerant towards sunflower oil, because no one's intolerant towards sunflower oil. It's good for you, it's healthy, isn't it? But then I it started bothering me, and 2 days later, in one morning, I made a test. I took 2 massive big spoonfuls of sunflower oil that I had at home, and instead of being normal, my push rate went over 100. It was crazy. So I couldn't believe my eyes. I did the test several times over again, obviously not the same day, but the days, a few days after, and the result was always the same. Added to that, I had few horrible spots coming on my face, and they were mostly around the nose and on the chin. So I started paying attention to what other items have that sunflower oil in them, and then I soon realized that I am intolerant of most of the seed oils. And do you know how difficult it is to get a slice of bread off a shop that doesn't have any seed oils in them? It's almost impossible. There's only one loaf of bread I can buy there, and that is for losing weight, low calorie loaf of bread. So don't be surprised when you get similar sort of effects, similar sort of results after eating certain food items, because unbelievably, a lot of people actually can't tolerate seed oils. Now let's go a few things that you should do and you shouldn't do when you are measuring your pulse rate. The number one thing is measure again and again and again until you are certain that this is the intolerance, this is what's causing you being unwell. Number 2, once you are completely sure what is causing your intolerance, you are supposed to leave that off your menu because you can't tolerate it. Number 3, when you eliminate something of your diet, please make sure that you will replace it with something equivalent of what you can't have anymore, because our body still needs the nutrients. Number 4, keep your testing to the minimum, because once you've consumed something you are intolerant towards, it tends to linger there in your body for at least a couple of hours. So make sure you have appropriate meal times and do your testing, say 3 times, 4 times a day. If you are starting out though, it would be an idea to test as often as you can, but only to find out your average and how your daily cycle goes. Number 5, help other people out. If you see they are struggling, they have spots, they have hives, they have other issues, recommend the theory and help them out. It will be very rewarding, I promise. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be having another video. Next video will be next week. It will be about natural and biological, handmade, human-made antihistamines and how they work and how they can help you out. So if you have any questions, please send me questions to questions@anstheory.com. Until then, thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.